Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here for the first episode of Q3. Pat yourself on the back, you made it through the first half of the year. Today we're talking about a couple of updates on Tesla's FSD, Project Dojo as well. We have what appears to be the first Model S Plaid fire already. Some news on the Boring Company, Porsche Taycan, Renault, and a couple other things as well. We'll start off today with some quick housekeeping items. Now that the quarter is wrapped up, we should be getting delivery and production numbers anytime. I do expect that to happen pre-market tomorrow, so I am going to be doing a live stream in anticipation of that happening. If it doesn't come in the morning, I guess we can just hang out and chat for a little bit, maybe see if there's any news overnight. But I will plan to start that stream bright and early, so that's going to be a few minutes before 5 a.m. Pacific time, 8 a.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. UTC. The other quick reminder is that the NASDAQ will be closed on Monday, so as such, likely no episode of Tesla Daily on Monday either. Alright, I suppose let's start off here with what appears to be a Plaid Model S fire. So this happened in Gladwin, Pennsylvania. Apparently there is a Gladwin voluntary fire company that shared quite a few photos of this Model S in a Facebook post last night. It looks like that post has been changed to private, but those pictures have been shared by other media outlets, so we're looking here from Drive Tesla Canada. Clearly we can see here the 21-inch arachnid wheels. That doesn't necessarily mean Plaid, but from one of these rear photos, it does look like there's a Plaid badge on the back. Now, normally I wouldn't spend any time on a Tesla fire. Each year Tesla publishes annual fire safety data, which most recently has shown one fire for every 205 million miles traveled by Tesla vehicles. That means a Tesla catches fire about 1/10 as frequently as the US national average. However, the fact that this is a brand new Model S and Tesla's only been delivering these vehicles for a couple of weeks with a brand new powertrain, updated battery chemistry, redesigned modules, cooling architecture, etc., this is definitely more noteworthy than usual. Given those circumstances, I'm actually a little bit surprised at how well Tesla stock held up today. We didn't talk about it at the open, but Tesla finished down about 0.25% to $677.92. That compared to the NASDAQ up about 0.1%. So not too bad of a day, all things considered. Obviously, the concern around something like this would be that there would be some flaw in the design or in the car that causes fires to become more frequent for this updated Model S or Model X. Obviously, one instance is by far not enough to draw any conclusions from, but hey, that's never really stopped the market before. I don't particularly have any concern about this. Tesla's been building electric vehicles for well over a decade now. They understand how these things work, and time and again, Tesla has proven that safety is a critical element in their design process. But I do also think it's fair for this to cause a bit of an eyebrow raise. Remember back on the Q1 earnings call, Elon talked about the Model S and X, the reason for the delay. He said, quote, "So it took quite a bit of development to ensure that the battery of the new S and X is safe," end quote. Okay, so you've got that comment, then you have Tesla just delivering a few hundred of these at the end of the quarter, and almost right away, even though it's somewhat statistically improbable, one of them catches fire. Well, that's not a great sequence of events. That being said, balancing the odds out a little bit is just the sheer performance of the Plaid, perhaps a new owner just not ready for that, and maybe that could contribute to an accident that eventually led to a fire. That doesn't really seem like a wild theory at all. So I would just say it's best to not overreact on either side. Let's wait for a little bit more information on what potentially caused this fire. There have been some other rumors around this. For the reasons I just stated, I'm not going to spend much time on that, but there was a post on Reddit that was apparently from an EMT that was part of the responding group. This person apparently said that the person that called in the fire had seen the car rolling down the street while on fire, so maybe someone was summoning it during that process, I don't know. Then we've got a tweet here from a lawyer that has 135,000 followers on Twitter saying that their firm is representing an executive that purchased this Plaid Model S, and they are claiming that it spontaneously combusted and that the client was trapped in the car, and that they've yet to get a response from Tesla. So I don't know, we'll continue to keep an eye on things. I don't think that would be something that a lawyer would share so quickly, but I guess in this day and age, you really never know. Then of course, you've always got the conspiracy theory angle of, okay, maybe someone purchased this with the intent to set it on fire the last day of the quarter, a little bit suspicious maybe. $130,000, not all that much capital if you are making a significant bet in the stock market. I think that's pretty unlikely for a lot of reasons. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but one of those reasons is that this car is black. If you were going to buy a car that you were going to immediately set on fire, why would you pay an extra $1,000 to upgrade the paint? Doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think that would go very far in terms of an alibi. I think the most likely and simplest explanation here is that the car just got in an accident, started on fire, and we're back to this whole finger pointing game of who is at fault, just like usual. Either way, it is worth monitoring, so I'll continue to keep an eye out for any more information on this and pass it along as I see it. Oh, the one other interesting piece of this, there were some photos shared of batteries that happened to make their way to the ground, and Clearly you can see here these are not 4680 battery cells, these are 18650s. I'd hope by now that that debate has died out, but if not, here is the physical proof. Alright, next up we've got a couple of updates from Elon Musk on full self-driving. The first one here is a response to Holmar's catalog on Twitter, pointing out that now that we've had another pure vision release for autopilot that includes smart summon, emergency lane departure warning, increasing the max speed to 80 miles per hour, etc., quote, FSD Beta 9 can't be too far behind, perfecting pure vision was the bottleneck, end quote. Elon replying to that with a simple, yeah. So I know we're all getting really tired of timelines, but we have now seen the pure vision released, and it is still early, but we've already seen a couple of updates to the pure vision firmware. And remember, back in Q1, Tesla was updating the FSD Beta every couple of weeks. It dropped off completely until we got this pure vision update. Hopefully now we're back in that flow of an update every week or two. Speaking of those pure vision updates, Elon replying to somebody on Twitter sharing a photo of them using the new vision-only autopilot at 80 miles per hour max. Elon replying saying you should notice several other improvements as well. Now, maybe Elon is just talking about smart summon and such like we had just talked about, but perhaps there are other improvements to the functionality of autopilot with this release too. Rounding out Elon's tweets is a quick update on Dojo, Elon replying to a tweet about Dojo and any relevance that might have to mining Dogecoin, which I think most of us understand, but may have been confusing, especially because Elon did once tweet Dojo for Doge. But Elon clearing that up here, saying, quote, sorry for any confusion, Dojo is a neural network training computer optimized for video for self-driving. Unless there is a predictable pattern to hashing script, which we will not attempt to find, it will not be competitive with ASIC-based hashing, end quote. So glad to see Elon share that to help temper down any of those expectations. Alright, next up is a little bit of news on The Boring Company. The Boring Company has actually submitted a proposal to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to build a tunnel underneath the city, connecting the city center to the beach. Now, of course, we've heard a lot of the back and forth between Miami and The Boring Company. This would be a separate proposal with Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale's mayor yesterday on Twitter confirmed that they had received a proposal and added that, quote, this represents an innovative and unprecedented approach to addressing traffic congestion and transit needs, end quote. So potentially a lot going on for The Boring Company in Florida. We'll continue to follow both Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Next, here a quick piece of news on the Porsche Taycan. Bloomberg reporting this morning that Porsche is planning a global recall of the Taycan due to a software issue that can cause sudden loss of power without warning. Now, as we say with Tesla, recalls are just part of being in the automotive business, but this one does highlight a stark contrast between the recall that we heard for Tesla in China, where Tesla was able to solve it with over-the-air software updates, and where Porsche is at. Inside EVs is reporting that though this is a software issue, customers are being told that they're going to have to bring their cars into the dealership to get this software update. While we have heard other automakers, including Porsche, talk about the capability of doing over-the-air software updates, clearly there is a spectrum of those over-the-air capabilities, and Tesla is at the farthest end of that spectrum. Last couple of quick items here. First, a really interesting update from Renault. They have announced what they call a historic acceleration of their electric vehicle strategy, stating their target of having more than 65% of their vehicles in 2025 either electric or electrified, which of course to us doesn't really mean much. Electrified, kind of a cop-out for plug-in hybrids. But then they do say 90% battery electric vehicles in 2030, though they did hedge that quite a bit by saying up to 90%. Anyway, that's not the most interesting part. The most interesting part is that in their presentation, they actually disclosed their current costs at the battery pack level for batteries. Their slide here shows that, I guess not currently, but back in 2019, they were at $170 per kilowatt hour, and they believe they have found the cost levers to get down to $100 per kilowatt hour in 2024. Now for Tesla, we expect that they're somewhere around that level today, maybe a little bit higher than that, especially with rising material costs. But Elon has said post-battery day that they think they can get down to somewhere in the $50 to $60 per kilowatt hour range. So Renault here saying for 2030, their target is to get to below $80 per kilowatt hour. Anyway, it is pretty rare to see automakers disclose their costs for batteries, and it gives us a sense of how far ahead Tesla is on battery costs. Looks here like at least 3 or 4 years, perhaps even a bit more than that. Lastly today, just a quick correction from something yesterday. This is from the RMI article on energy storage in California. I had said that over the span of a couple months, California had added 1 gigawatt of battery power. I misread that, so that section actually says that California added 675 megawatts of batteries between June 2020 and June 2021, so a year there, and then another 343 megawatts by July 1st, so about a third of a gigawatt in a month, and a gigawatt in about a year, not 2 months. So just wanted to correct on that. I always pin a comment if I do find an error like that and try to update on the next episode, so doing that here. And that's where we'll wrap it up for today. But again, we will be back bright and early tomorrow for that live stream delivery report or not. So set your alarm for that. But until then, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast. And I'll see you tomorrow for that Friday, July 2nd episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.